Episode 115 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in particular to all the Arabic-speaking followers of the Interpretation Station. We have an extremely special episode for you today. Now, some of you may have attended the Interpretation Station Sunday at 6 workshop a couple of weeks ago. We had a huge turnout because I had managed to attract a couple of really special guests on the show. They were my colleague from the United Nations, Senior Arabic Booth Interpreter, Mohammed Assi, and we were also joined on that occasion by a very special surprise guest, Ms. Rasha Ajal Yakin, who is the former head of the Arabic booth, chief of booth in New York. She's retired now, so when I was in New York, she was the head of booth, and they have very kindly agreed to join me again. So I'm very lucky. You're very lucky to be able to have them on the show. We're going to be going through a very interesting text today about nuclear weapons, nuclear disarmament, nuclear proliferation. Let me just give the floor to the two of them just to say hello before we get down to the nitty-gritty. Ladies first. Rasha, would you like to say hello to all the viewers?
Yes. Hello, everybody. And I'm really humbled by your introduction, Roland. I'm very glad to be here. I'm happy to be able to do something, even to just remove some of the, how would I say, you feel rusty after a while. So it's nice to be taken to task on what you're saying and how you decide to manage to interpret. So I'm looking forward to being with you, and hopefully we'll see you again in future sessions.
That's great. Well, it's an honor to have you on the show with me, Rasha. Mohammed, would like to say hello to all the viewers.
Hello, everybody. First of all, hello, Rasha. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Roland, for giving us the opportunity to analyze the text that we regularly interpret at the conference on disarmament. This particular subject is actually rich in vocabulary, rich in terminology, and it is a speech that is regularly delivered by the Syrian delegate to the conference on disarmament. And this time it was delivered by himself, none other than the Syrian ambassador to Geneva, Mr. Al-Ala. He is the permanent representative of the Syrian Arab Republic at the United Nations office and other international organizations in Geneva. So what is important in this speech?
Did you do this speech yourself, Mohammed? I'd be interested to know, were you in this actual meeting, or this was just a text that you found that you thought looked really good?
I was there. I did not interpret it myself. I just told Rasha about it, that one of my colleagues, I wouldn't say had the pleasure of interpreting it, actually had the surprise of interpreting it. We had the text, I think, 10 minutes before, perhaps not more than that. But anyway, it is the kind of text that the Syrian ambassador would regularly deliver at this kind of meeting. So the meeting, actually, the context of the meeting is the first session of the 2022 regular session of the conference on disarmament. Usually there are 6 presidencies that are appointed, that assume the presidency of the conference. The first presidency was the Chinese, and it is at the occasion of this very first session early in 2022 that many ambassadors, actually a long list of delegates, took the floor, including the Syrian ambassador. So
one thing I'd like to point out here, just before we go any further, is that in that context, the whole background to the conference on disarmament, way back when, so we're talking Interpretation Station episode, I'm just looking through it here, Interpretation Station's episodes 12 and 13, I covered a statement by Belgium. And in episode 12, which was it was a long statement by Belgium, I actually go into some detail giving a lot of the background on the conference on disarmament, the resolution that created it, what its mandate is about, the key buzzwords, and so on. So I'm actually going to put up I'm going to put up here a little card so that you can click on. You can go to that episode. You can practice it if you know French. And as I say, for the first 20 minutes or so of that episode, I try and give you all the sort of key background to the CD, as we like to call it,
the CD, the Conference on Disarmament. So anyway, so the Syrian ambassador would always highlight Syria's contribution to the resolution that was adopted by the Security Council back in 1995, asking for the establishment of a zone free of nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction, or other.
What do they call it in English? You call that a nuclear and weapons of mass destruction free zone in the Middle East. It's quite a mouthful. And that's going to be mentioned in this statement. And I can tell you this statement contains all the buzzwords, all the buzz phrases when it comes to nuclear disarmament, nuclear proliferation, all the interesting treaties, all the various mechanisms. Yeah, this statement is very much, it really hits the spot, you might say.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple of terms that keep jumping here and there. One of them is that zone free of nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction. You have NPT, which is non-proliferation.
That's the big one, isn't it? The NPT is possibly the most important.
Non-proliferation treaty. You also have CWC, which is the Convention on Chemical Weapons, and you also have other terms,
and the biological one as well, the BTWC,
biological weapons.
And biological and toxin weapons convention.
You have toxins, you have what it says, sometimes there's reference to the first special General Assembly session. It is called the special session on disarmament.
SSOD, sometimes they call it SSOD1, that's right. Fissile materials, it's going to talk about the fissile materials.
We talk about fissile materials. We talk about an internationally binding instrument.
Right.
We talk about negative assurances.
Yep.
We talk about safeguards. We talk about submission of facilities, namely Israeli facilities, to inspection by the International Atomic Energy Agency. We talk about arms race in outer space.
Right. Has everything. This statement really does cover
of arms
bases.
In outer space, which is called Paris. They usually call it.
Preventing an arms race in outer space. That's right.
Yeah, there are dates that keep popping up to 1995, 2003.
All the big sort of milestones, right?
1972, and there's always, whenever the Syrian delegate speaks, always talks about Israel, and whenever there's talk about weapons of mass destruction, there is always talk about Israel, that you have if you are aware to enforce a nuclear free zone, then you have to start with Israel. And of course, sometimes Israel is being called the Israeli regime, and the Israeli delegate would take the floor and raise a point of order, say there's nowhere in the United Nations terminology that Israel is called Israeli regime, so please refer to
I didn't know. Right.
State of Israel, something like that.
Well, with that, shall we get started then? So I think
okay, that's a rough introduction.
Rasha's got, yes, go ahead, Rasha.
I had a couple of points that I wanted to raise.
Yes.
I mean, probably I know that we're talking about an advanced kind of level of a statement, but the whole concept of this being called the Conference on Disarmament, it's the conference on and not anything else. It refers to the rules of procedure. It refers to working methods, the principle of sovereign equality, pluralism, the non-nuclear states, because this is you would sometimes figure out why are they talking about that. So it's non-nuclear weapon states, the unconditional adherence to the NPT. I think that's what we call it, right?
Yeah, that's going to get
Then
mentioned.
the IAEA nuclear safeguards regime. And the verb to use with that is submitting its installation to
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the best word, certainly. Yeah, submitting it. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were words that I just, was able to pick out as I was just, going over the statement yesterday.
Now, before we start, let me just point out, so I am going to leave the link to this original statement, to the transcript, as usual, in the description box. We've also got the link to the original audio so that you can go and practice it. My suggestion to you guys is to go to the link, practice it, see how you fare, see how you get through the statement, and then come and watch the show, see what me, Rash, and Mohammed, what new nuggets, what sort of, how, if we can enlighten you any further, clear up any doubts you may have had over certain vocab. But it's as I said, this is a really good statement to practice if you're going to be working in a meeting that you know is going to be linked to things to do with disarmament, non-proliferation, etc. So without further ado, I suggest that we get started. I think I'll start. I'll be the guinea pig, and I'll give my version here of the first paragraph, and then we'll let Rasha and Mohammed tear me to pieces, tear my work to pieces, my ideas. So we'll see how we go, shall we?
We wouldn't go that far anyway.
Not that far. Okay, so this is what I would say. So the Conference on Disarmament, that does have a president. I know this can be a bit of a problem for Arabic speakers to know when it's a president and when it's a chairman. So it's always advisable to look at the flag of the main guy at the meeting. Does it say president or chairman there? And to just to take note of that. So we've got a president in the CD. So president, allow me to congratulate you, Ambassador Lee Sung, and your kindred country, the Popular Republic of China, on your presidency of the Conference on Disarmament, the CD. And to reaffirm to you our wholehearted support for your efforts, and that we are confident that your diplomatic flair and long-standing expertise in the field of disarmament will be a valuable contribution in steering the work of the Council as it begins its first cycle in 2022. And also thanks to Madam Tatiana Valovaya, the Director General, the Secretary General of the conference, for all of her efforts. Okay, how did I do, guys?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
it wasn't just off the top. I have prepared a little
I'm
bit.
not saying wow to praise you. I'm just saying there were 5 no-nos. It's what did you say, for a session?
That's the session, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, let me just annotate. This is important stuff to know, guys. All right. So the session. Yes.
People's Republic of China, not the Popular.
Yep.
So that's also
the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, People's Republic of China.
Okay.
And what I wanted to ask you, and maybe that's something for us.
Shabia. It's a People's Republic, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I would probably just say. I would often just say maybe just
China,
to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only because I would think that they are very. I mean, I would assume that this is something that the Chinese would have kind of looked sternly at. I mean,
right.
Just say it mildly. Just my question also for you is always in Arabic we have a problem with the kindred country. You said, and I liked it.
I said yeah.
So would you say friendly? Would you say friendly at all or no?
I prefer saying that, to be honest. I know I say kindred quite a lot.
Yeah,
because I don't like friendly very much.
Because Arab states, and we're talking Arab countries, for example, often refer to each other within the Arab group as الشقيقة والشقيق.
brother.
That's more kin. Yeah, I get you.
And, Stephen Pearl, whom we were talking about a minute ago, used to say there is no such thing as sisterly. You would always have to say fraternal.
Right.
I don't know. How do you think about it?
Maybe China with this, maybe it is more friendlier because
It's
they're
more
not
friendly
quite
for
the same
China.
kin.
Yeah, they draw a
I guess it'd be
distinction
kin for
between
another Arab
states
country.
and,
Right.
Arab and Muslim states, actually, and
Right.
the rest of the world. So
Yeah,
they would use
so-
brotherly for Muslim and Arab states, and would use friendly or
Maybe it
good.
is friendly. Maybe friendly would be the best because it's a different civilization, really, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay, so that's where Stephen Pearl used to say there is no such thing as brotherly and sisterly, and you have to say fraternal.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not so sure how you're going to handle this.
Maybe friendly. I'd perhaps maybe here friendly would work.
I would stick to friendly.
Yeah.
Roland, I mean, the interpretation was perfect, but the Arabic paragraph was too long.
Right.
I would have stopped at الكامل دعمنا الكامل لجهودك, full stop.
Yeah, here, yes.
Our full
There,
support.
right.
And then I would say, I'm confident. I would start a new sentence with, I'm confident that thanks to your diplomatic skills and extensive experience.
Extensive, that's a nice word. As I said, long-standing expertise, but extensive
experience in the field of disarmament. Okay, we're confident that your diplomatic skills and extensive experience in the field of disarmament will be instrumental or will contribute. I would say will be instrumental.
Okay. Here is hamiha. Okay.
Will, instead of saying Satuaf, I mean, I would say those are protocol words that
it's a bit clunky in English.
Whatever you
to
say,
provide a contribution
goes,
is a bit. Yeah, it's a bit.
Can you
Yeah,
say
I know.
contribute? Can you say will
just contribute and just get rid of sitawaf. Just get rid of the
certainly.
sitawaf.
I would use with certainly, because he said isaman qayyiman instead of valuable contribution, will certainly contribute to or will be instrumental in leading the works of our conference towards complete success or something like that. Okay.
I liked steering that Roland word.
I steer quite a lot.
Gearing. I would say gearing towards. Yeah.
Well,
steering. I use gear usually in English for in a different context. Geared towards, like with a view to. I steer, as I say, I do steered. I steward sometimes in stewarding the work of whatever is of the committee.
Yeah, then we put a full stop after 22.
Right.
And I also would like to thank, or my thanks also go to
right.
Tatiana Valavoya, the Secretary General of the conference, for her estimated or valuable efforts.
Valovaya, who is incidentally also the boss in Geneva. She is the Director General in Geneva. So what Antonio Guterres is to New York, she is to Geneva, and she gets she wears a double hat. So she's the Director General of UNO and the Secretary General of the Conference on Disarmament. So it's a 2-for-1 offer you get, a 2-for-1 honor you get when you become Director General. Let's go on then to the next paragraph.
One final question. If you would like us to think of fallback positions, considering that you sometimes blank out. So for extensive experience, can we say vast?
Yes, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah.
I just wanted to, this way we're giving them, you said extensive, vast, so that's
vast experience.
Can we say long-seated experience?
I said long-standing was the one I went for, but I prefer the two that you gave, extensive and vast. They would work. Deep-seated, no. Deep-seated, no. Deep-seated, it's like a deep-seated hatred for something, or a deep-seated with experience. I think extensive.
I would use extensive.
Yeah.
So if you're training, Roland, would you choose 2 words in place of 1? I think that whether we're talking about speed or even technique, let's go for the 1 word. This is my take on it, and I feel that if we can deliver with fewer words,
the fewer the words and the fewer the syllables, even
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So
Okay, so I'll let one of you do the second.
shall I
Start the
try?
second. Go for it.
Okay. So your assumption of the first presidency of the conference places on your shoulders a special responsibility to work towards a consensus on a work program that defines the road ahead. We have
Okay, so we just stop there just one because
Yeah.
we've got one complete sentence. So
Yeah.
So this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. Let me ask you something, because tawafuq in Arabic is more of a consensus than agreement.
yeah.
So usually when you're talking, and this is exactly what I was talking about when I started talking about you have to edit. So how are you going while you're working to decide whether he really is aiming for consensus or
That's
talking
the
about agreeing on a work?
thing.
Can
You
I
see, in,
jump in?
in English, you'd usually say work on trying to reach. We'd probably say on trying to reach a consensus or trying to reach an agreement. It's the same thing in Russian. That they would have this one word, like you have tawafuk. In Russian, they would have like one word, and when I interpret, I just say, work on agreeing on a program of work. I would just leave it at that.
Yeah, to agree on a program.
If I was the
I
person making the speech, I'd probably say on trying to reach a consensus or trying to reach an
I
agreement.
would keep consensus, because that is the buzzword. Actually, they keep talking about consensus on a program of work.
On reaching, on reaching consensus. Okay.
And you said the way forward. Sorry, the road ahead. It's actually the way forward.
The way forward. That's a buzz phrase. That's one of the buzz phrases now.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true.
Because that's what I wanted to ask you.
The way ahead, is it the way ahead? I think the way ahead.
It's actually way forward.
Is it way forward? Okay, the way forward. All right. Okay, Rasha, I'll let you continue.
Okay, we listened attentively to your introductory statement during the opening session, and we agree with you that. What did I say for that? We agree that
this is classic CD language coming up
now. Right.
That overcoming the inertia, and I didn't know what to say for idling. I thought that it is some sort of an idling, or it's like overcoming the inertia should take into consideration, or the stalemate.
Yeah, it would be probably breaking the deadlock.
Okay.
Breaking the deadlock.
Could you just finish that bit, Rasha, from the inakas, and you taking into consideration inakas? How did you say that?
So we say we agree with you, or we agree that overcoming the stalemate or the deadlock take into account the impact of the international security environment on the conference. It should also take.
Okay, let's stop there so what I was going to say is I'm a big one for breaking deadlocks. Yeah. That's what I usually. I'm always talking about breaking the deadlock, and then because I know these two words, this is jumud and al murawaha, they're pretty much the same thing. So my second thing
but
is
in English, I think that would be a repetition.
Stalemate, paralysis. I even sometimes say the limbo.
Yeah,
something's in limbo.
I don't think they're the same. I beg to differ, because
they're not. But I mean,
deadlock is definitely jumud or stalemate. But murawaha, it's exactly when your engine is idling and you're not going anywhere. So I don't consider that deadlock.
Paralysis.
It's an attempt to do something, but there is no output. So I don't know if you wanted to think aloud about what else if we really want to be accurate.
Paralysis?
No, because paralysis is shalal. I mean, paralysis is you're dead.
Okay. Like you said, inertia. Was that what the word that you went for?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. When I first saw it, my impression I got is you just needed two words that more or less fit, that were similar.
What about stalemate? Is that okay for murawaha?
I mean, is the stalemate murawaha, or is, I mean, stalemate is actually when you
repeating the same thing without really reaching
it's a dead end. So I'm asking you that when someone chooses to use the word murawaha, the way I understood it is that he's telling us that we haven't moved anywhere, but it's not that
you're not making any progress at all.
It's not because there is no way ahead. It's because we chose not to do it.
So inertia. I mean, I think inertia in that case it
Inaction?
could work.
That too. Inaction is also good.
Mm.
But I don't know how would you add it to, so you don't break inaction. That's what.
not break,
oh,
but
okay,
you have to
break
use
the
another word
deadlock
for it.
and end the inertia.
Yeah.
You break deadlocks, break stalemates.
Yeah.
Inertia to you end. I guess you end the inertia.
Okay. So so we said under.
So we're here. Yeah. So the impact of the impact on
current international security environment on the conference.
Okay, so I was so interested. So in ACUS, that's impact. Yeah, that's.
How
the
about
best
implications or
all right.
repercussions?
Implications also.
Implications, repercussions. That's a really
yeah,
nice
repercussions of the current international security.
When I looked up on
environment.
Google Translate, they gave me implications. So, okay, do you want to go on then from Haja?
Okay, so we must, I guess, or there is a need to adopt.
So we'll break a new sentence, eh?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we need within the items of the agenda to adopt a creative approach, or to adopt a creative position while maintaining at the same time the mandate entrusted by the SSOD1, it being the only multilateral negotiating forum in the field of disarmament.
Okay. I was interested. So Mudrija, would you drop that? Would you delete that? That seemed.
I mean, these are items on the agenda.
That's right. I was wondering that. It did seem to be a word that you don't need to render, really. Yeah.
If you said no, if you said the items on the agenda,
items on the agenda.
Yeah.
But Rasha, I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Don't you think that the Arabic sentence is quite odd, actually, when you say, because that's not the one question, Roland. Do you know when this special session was held?
Quite a long time ago.
A long time ago, and I think it was before the conference on disarmament was set up, wasn't it?
I think so. I think that paved the way for the creation of the conference on disarmament.
So I think there is some confusion in this sentence, saying in Arabic that في الوقت نفسه على الولاية التي أوكلتها الدورة الخاصة الأولى للجمعية العامة المعنية بنزع السلاح للمؤتمر بوصفه المحفل التفاوضي الوحيد. Now it is.
But I think that it could have been, as Roland said, it might have been the way. I mean, okay, the way they think of these things is that you don't change mandates, and for Syria politically, they're going to think that any attempt to break a consensus could open a Pandora's box. So therefore, you don't touch anything that was adopted, and it almost becomes like the charter. We agreed upon it, SSOD1, unless someone...
1978, by the way. SSOD1 was 1978, SSOD2, 1982, SSOD3, 1988.
So SSOD was 79?
78. The first one was 78.
And the second one was 1982.
82, and the third one, 1988.
Okay. So if they agreed on
that makes sense. Okay.
I think he would like to say that, because come to think of it, once they take this approach, you're going to apply it to anything else. So you cannot simply say 242 was not X or Y. So this is something that we agreed upon, and we need to keep it within the same parameters and as a terms of reference that we cannot change. That's how. So I would err on the side of caution here. So yes, he wants to say maybe because of current circumstances we need to be creative, but at the same time we cannot deviate from the mandate that was entrusted to us by the SSOD1.
Yeah.
Well, one quick question. يتسم بالابتكار. I noticed you went with creative, so I found innovative.
Innovative, yeah. I would say, it's the same anyway.
Yeah, it's the same. It's good. Well, okay, good. Just good synonym.
Creative,
yeah, innovative. Yeah.
Yes, that would be the same. while maintaining the mandate adopted by the first session.
And a notice, I think the Rasha talked about this. I think this is an important expression, right? The single multilateral negotiating forum
the single multilateral
on disarmament. I think that's an important expression to know by heart if you're going to do this.
Is it single or sole? Is there
Soul.
Single or
Soul.
Soul.
You're right. Soul multilateral negotiating forum on disarmament. I think that's an expression that you want to remember as a package.
The only.
I think the word. I think in the actual treaty or whatever, I think soul is specifically the word they use. And no one's going to, if you say the only, I mean, it's not going to be any disaster. But
multilateral negotiating forum. Yes.
Okay, I'll have a go. Okay, so Syria. So I think at this point, I'm going to get rid of Al-Jumhuriyya Al-Arabiya. Okay, Syria stresses the centrality of the principles of inclusiveness and balance in any program of work of the conference that includes the core issues on the agenda, including the core issues on the agenda. Rasha?
I really think that we need to start with the program of action. Syria believes that it's extremely important for any program of action to stress the principle of, I don't know if it's comprehensiveness, balance.
Would you be able to wait that long though when interpreting?
I don't know. In all honesty, I know. So this is why I think it's going to sound awkward no matter, because you're going to have to follow whatever. So Syria stresses the singular importance of the principle of inclusiveness and balance in any program of action for the conference. That would cover all the core issues listed on the agenda.
Okay. So
or probably embraces the core issues on its agenda.
So those of you who watch the show often enough know that I do like core, because it's often the first
core issues
solution you'll get is fundamental, but it's a lot easier to say core than it is fundamental. One syllable instead of four. So the core issues, I like my core.
All right.
On the agenda.
Okay, I got my other glasses now.
Okay.
So I'll jump to the next sentence. Long sentence. I would start by saying that the experience of past years has confirmed that the stalemate, I would say, or this deadlock faced or experienced by the conference has been mainly due to the extensive politicization exercised by some states and their lack of political will, for any other reason related to its working methods or internal system. Is that internal?
Would you end the parrot? I was thinking, where we can break this up. Should we break it up here?
We can break it up to political will.
Okay, political will.
We have to find some transition to not for.
Okay. The political will. Okay, hang on then. All right. Okay, let me just go to erase.
The smart way, Muhammad. Probably we can stop it here and say this should not be attributed to any other to other issues related to its working methods.
Here we're going to start. Okay, right.
Its working methods or
rules of procedure. I guess the Nidam al-Dakhili, no?
Is that what?
Yes, rules of procedure.
That's okay. There you go. I didn't know. Okay, rules of procedure. All right. One thing I was just going to ask this: so the tasayis al-mufrid, would it be excessive? Over politicization. That's nice. Excessive politicization, over politicization is very nice.
And their lack of political will, and not for any other reason related to its working methods or the rules of procedure.
And then this last bit then on the page, al-adhan.
That's you have to start a new sentence.
New sentence, right?
Which these have allowed the conference in the past. Have allowed the conference to uphold to uphold its negotiating mandate.
Do you say fulfill? Can you fulfill?
Fulfill a mandate, yeah. You can fulfill a mandate, yeah. Deliver on. I like delivering on things.
The mandate. When there was real political will, there was an atmosphere of professionalism based on the principle of equality and sovereignty, multilateralism, and common interests.
Yeah. I noticed you dropped this word. You didn't render this word here, tawafarat, which I thought is interesting because I mean that's what I did. I did think I was wondering myself, and I did. Do you really need that word there? And you could just say there was.
I think it's important, and I think they often talk about evinced when member states evince the political will and were professional enough in a manner that respects the principle of sovereign equality. And I don't know if it's here pluralism or multilateralism.
I think
pluralism, I would say.
Spirit of pluralism or
Pluralism. The
multilateralism.
spirit of pluralism.
Pluralism. Okay.
Yeah, and common interests.
Common interests, shared interests. I say quite a lot.
When they were committed, or when they respected, when they were committed to the principles of sovereign equality, pluralism, and shared interests. And if you like, I mean, if this verb can take all of the three above in terms of collocations, I guess it would save us a word.
Right. So that tawafara, so you can just say there was, right? I mean that would suffice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Or when these states had the political will or was there. That's,
right. Just a question. You say that ta'adidiyya is plurality. What would multilateralism usually be?
They always
تعددية الأطراف.
Okay, with the atraf. Okay, that's interesting.
Pluralism, like التعددية الحزبية مثلا.
Right. Okay, let me go down to page. I've got these in the wrong order.
Yeah,
Okay, page. Okay, here's page 3. Okay. All right. Shall I have another crack here then? Okay, I'll give this a try. So the world today faces challenges, unprecedented challenges and threats in light of the security, in light of a security climate characterized by escalating tensions and aggressive tendencies and military provocation in a number of parts of the world. And I'll stop there. I'll put a full stop there. Any comments there?
Okay, I tried this in all honesty, and I had to literally dissect it to be able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I don't know if you would like saying our world is afflicted by unprecedented risks and challenges.
Afflicted by, that's nice, isn't it? For tawajjah. Beset is beset by.
Or beset by, that's nice. And then I stopped there and I said the security environment.
Oh, you would just stop it immediately, right?
Exactly. So the security environment is characterized by, I thought, spiraling tensions.
Okay, so we get rid of fizal. Okay, so get rid of that, right? Spiraling tensions, yeah.
Hostile tendencies and military confrontations that have jeopardized international peace and security. And the question here,
You would,
he used the word unprecedented twice.
Mm-hmm.
So from a political, accuracy point of view, would you say unprecedented twice, or since he said it in the chapeau, we can forego it here? I don't know. Probably it would be considered.
Where's the second time he says unprecedented? Oh, at the end of the sentence. I see what you mean. Yeah. Faces I mean, I would probably say it both times. Yeah, because here's the second time. Once here and once here.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with it? For example, we would say today the world is facing unprecedented challenges and threats.
I said that. I said our world is afflicted by unprecedented risks and challenges. But he again mentions it, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. Down here, Rashi. You see at the end.
Exactly. That's why I said, would you repeat it? Probably we should, but
right.
I'm just, I just raised that because
how did you say
I think I said a climate, a
And a
security
climate?
climate. I think climate and environment in this sort of figurative sense are pretty much interchangeable.
in a security environment? Would you use characterized by?
I said typified
What?
or characterized.
By rising tensions.
Yeah, I said what? Growing tensions, rising tensions, spiraling tensions, as Rasha said, escalating tensions. All those are good.
النزعات العدوانية.
That bit I wasn't too. So what I just said there was aggressive tendencies, but I wasn't too certain. I was wondering what you two would have to say for that.
Aggressivity, aggression.
I would say hostile. I don't know with these things.
Hostility.
Yeah, because I would say hostile tendencies.
Hostile tendencies, right? That's okay. That sounds good to me in English. I mean, as an English native, that sounds.
Provocations.
Yeah, and you're exactly military confrontations, and I don't know if because did he say muwajahat or what did he say?
No, he didn't say مواجهات. يعني
استفزاز.
في العديد من مناطق العالم.
He talks about alistifzazat is the word. Provocations, right?
Provocations.
Right.
In many regions of the world.
Yeah.
Putting putting international peace and security.
Jeopardizing, I said.
Unprecedented risks.
You know, so instead of putting and risks, I would say jeopardizing.
Jeopardizing. So all that amam makhatir.
Yeah.
Jeopardizing. Okay.
In an unprecedented manner. Or...
In an unprecedented
Yeah.
Okay. Should I do a bit more? Okay. In our own region, the aggressive Israeli conduct and its ongoing accumulation and development of conventional and non-conventional arsenals, including nuclear weapons, is the source of the main threat to regional security and stability. And I think that definitely needs a full stop there, I would say. Any comments from you two guys?
No, that's fine.
No, that's fine, I guess.
So I think it's important just to note, so conventional and non-conventional are the kinds of weapons. If you're new to it, you might think like, well, they conventional and it's not ordinary. I think because when I maybe started, the first time in a meeting, I might have said like regular and it's important, I think, to know conventional and non-conventional. It's not always it's not always obvious.
A question, Roland. So when we say, I mean, here he says السلوك الإسرائيلي العدواني. So hostile, whatever. So actions or is it conduct?
I think I said conduct.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just asking because I wanted to say if we said Israeli aggressive or hostile actions and continued stockpiling and developing of.
Now, is this stockpiling here or accumulation?
Is it different? I
think it is different because I think stockpiling is, specifically putting them in the warehouse, keeping them. I think there's some treaties. I think with stockpile, I have more of an impression of them just putting them in the factory, in the warehouse. Whereas with accumulating, they're just sort of making more and more and more and more. And
which is what I understand stockpiling is.
Might be so you think it might be stockpiling, huh?
I mean, in the context of disarmament, because these words become collocated, and
stockpiling is fine. Well,
what would you say, Mohammed?
Yeah, I would say stockpiling.
Stockpiling. Okay, stockpiling. Okay.
I used accumulated, but anyway, accumulation. But the stockpiling is fine.
Okay.
So it would be like stockpiling and developing conventional and non-conventional arsenals. So that's where.
Yeah.
Nuclear.
And this bit was all right. The source of the main threat.
Yeah.
regional peace security. And okay, I think I'll give this to to you, Rasha, because this is I think this is going to be quite a long sentence that needs to be broken down
You have to
by a professional.
start afresh, actually.
Yeah,
start a new sentence.
this was okay. So what I said here, there is an urgent need to bring an end to the international community's failure to honor its commitments about establishing a zone free from weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. And I stopped here.
Okay. What about this bit though, the muda little
This calls for.
Is a cause, or this calls for.
So this
why there is an urgent need. I mean, this is why I said
because in Arabic you have that this calls for the need, which doesn't really make sense in English. It doesn't. So
or
just say there is
imperative.
Okay, so you just want to say there is an urgent need to do blah blah blah.
This calls for an end to international, or I mean,
Right.
probably this is even shorter. This calls for an end to the international community.
Right. So don't say this calls for the need, because that in English doesn't sound. There might be a temptation to do that if you're a sort of beginner.
I said there is an urgent
need. Yeah.
To an end, but this is shorter. So this calls for an end.
One or the other. There is a need for, or there is this calls for an end to. Okay.
Yeah,
or it is imperative.
It is imperative. Okay.
It is therefore imperative to put an end.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and here I was wondering, should we say inaction, or to the international community's failure to honor its commitments?
The takas. Yeah, I looked that up and it gave me inaction. I mean, that sounds fine to me. In it seems quick. It's inaction. It seems quite an effective, quick way of doing that. Put an end.
Yeah, believe it or not, I looked it up also, and I found inaction, and I found failure.
Failure.
Right.
I use failure.
And I think failure fits his mindset.
Failure as well. Okay.
Because they do think, and particularly you're talking here about Israel and the Arab group's position, and maybe this is something that an interpreter must always have in mind as a context for a point of view of a speaker, that they're talking about the failure to
deliver on commitments, right? Yeah, that's good. That sounds nice, actually.
To honor or to deliver on
commitment. Yep.
So I said there's a need to bring to an end the international community's failure to honor its commitments about establishing a zone free from weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. And then the international.
Where are we? The Sharq al-Awsat. Yep.
Yeah,
so I would just say, as I say, we call these nuclear weapons. So you'll have these nuclear weapons free zones, which will be called NWZs. They call them NW. So you have them in like Central Asia, or you have them in the Americas as well. There they focus on nuclear. They call them nuclear weapons free zones, and the acronym you'll hear is NWZ. Whereas the one they want to set up in the Middle East is a nuclear and weapons of mass destruction, other weapons of mass destruction free zone. It's more of a mouthful, the one they want to set up in the Middle East. So again, that's very specific vocab that you're going to hear. This nuclear weapons free zones, weapons of mass destruction free zone. So yeah,
WMDs. So we can hear say a zone free from nuclear and WMDs.
And use WMDs, by the way. Everyone knows what WMDs are, and it's a hell of a lot quicker to say than weapons of mass destruction. Just WMDs. So it's a good acronym to be aware of.
And the following sentence would be
on you go. Yep.
Would be the same, and you have to start with the
down here, Rasha. Can you see?
The international community should take serious.
That's it, exactly. The international community to take practical steps to guarantee Israel's unconditional adherence to the NPT as a non-nuclear weapon state. Full stop.
Down here. So notice how so yes, you repeated the subject, didn't you? The international community to make so that allows you to start the new sentence, and it allows you to break this up.
And it also it must also call on Israel to submit all its nuclear facilities and installations to the IAEA's safeguards regime.
Okay, so these are important concepts. Okay, very important concepts. So this is the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Okay, this معاهدة عدم الانتشار النووي, and you'll just hear delegations just saying immediately NPT. They just assume everyone knows what the NPT is. And then what else did you say here that I think as a non-nuclear weapon state, very important, because the NPT has, there are two kinds of states. There are the nuclear weapon states, your Russia's, your America, your France, your UK's, they're the nuclear weapon state, the 5 of them. And then you have everyone else is a non-nuclear weapon state.
Yeah, because باللغة العربية we say الدول الحائزة على الأسلحة النووية والدول غير الحائزة.
There you go. That's very important to recognize. And then this other thing is very important as well that Rasha was talking about. This إخضاع الجميع. Okay, so I think, what was it? Submitting all their nuclear facilities to IAEA, placing them under IAEA safeguards.
Yeah.
There's a few little tweaks.
I heard them always talk about submitting them to the whatever.
Yeah. There's it's called the Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement.
Exactly.
I think
he didn't talk about it. I know that. Yeah.
Right. But again, remember that little expression. You'll be in a meeting of the NPT RevCon, and every state will be coming back saying, calling on Israel to submit their nuclear facilities, their nuclear sites to IAEA safeguards. This is a very important note. This is
safeguards, without saying comprehensive or
it's safeguards. It's not guarantees. It's specifically safeguards. Okay.
Safeguards.
Okay. Do you want and Rasha? Do you want to carry on then?
I wanted to finish. Okay. So Syria stresses that the success of the 10th review conference of the NPT that has been derailed by the spread of COVID-19 requires that we stress former commitments and implement the 1995 resolution calling for the establishment of the NWZ zone, including a zone free from WMDs in the Middle East, that continues to remain in effect until it is, and here I wanted to ask myself, are we going to say enforced or implemented? Because the enforced has a political connotation.
That sounds stronger, doesn't
implementation, I would say.
Exactly, and it puts the burden of proof on member states that have failed so far to commit to the implementation of that decision. And that's why it fell apart. So I wanted to ask you whether you would say until it's implemented or enforced, whatever it is.
Enforced sounds a bit more aggressive. It sounds like someone's going to make someone else do it. Well, implementation sounds more neutral, that there's no element of coercion involved. That's my take from those two words.
It would have been infad if it was enforced.
Okay, right.
The word infad for it, and then I thought that given what he was saying, given what the Syrian delegate was saying, that the international community has failed to step up to the plate and do what it takes to get this taken care of, maybe you could have gotten away with enforced.
Because you could probably get away with it, couldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just maybe talking too much. So I just
implementation. I don't know. Sounds safer to me. I'd have said maybe pending its implementation. This is another linguistic tweak. Pending its implementation. It sounds nice.
Yeah.
One other thing I was going to say here, the nuclear, so the Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference. I tell you what, if I'm in a meeting and they're going to be talking about that all the time, I'll just be saying the NPT RevCon, okay? Know that shortening in English, okay? That abbreviation, the RevCon.
I've never heard it.
You've never heard? Oh, I will use that all the time. RevCon.
Review
RevCon, and then you've got the PrepCon. You've got the Preparatory Committee, the PrepCon, and RevCon. I'll say RevCon.
In New York, no.
I'll say
you are the Independent Republic of Geneva. So
I will personally say the RevCon. So.
RevCon, yeah. Well, RevCon when you work for the Conference on Disarmament.
Okay. Was there anything else in that section?
No, we can.
Just this Aladi Halat. Yes. So you said that it was derailed by. It was postponed. Is that what it essentially means? Aladi Halat.
It was postponed actually because of the COVID.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Mohammed.
Yeah. So where are we now?
Here we are at the start of this new paragraph. وانطلاقاً من
Yeah. So
القناع.
this is a very long paragraph, actually,
Yeah.
that we certainly
This
have
contains
to
a lot of the real
break
the
down.
meat in this paragraph. All these treaties here.
Yeah. So we know that the subject is delayed, actually. So I would say convinced that the establishment of nuclear weapons
So you'd get rid of this.
and other weapons of mass destruction was an essential contribution to achieving the objectives of disarmament and strengthening the non-proliferation regime. Then here we comes to the subject, the Syrian Arab Republic here, the Syrian, and says أولت الجمهورية العربية, either paid great attention to or placed great emphasis on.
Attaches, I think that's the best. Attaches, yeah.
Importance, yeah.
Attaches great importance, yeah.
Yeah, to the region's nuclearization or to a region free of nuclear weapons.
Right, I was thinking ridding
the region of any weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons and other weapons and all other weapons actually of mass destruction.
Okay.
Then we have to start a new sentence here.
Okay, so just there. Where are we stopping the sentence? Was
at destruction.
Okay, here. Okay, yeah. There's a couple of important things here, aren't there? So yeah, this weapons of mass destruction free zone. The goal was the ahdaf, the goals of disarmament, non-proliferation, right? The non-proliferation regime, again, very important.
Right. So
this was the word that interests. Yeah, Isla. So it was interesting how to denuclearization. That's an expression you'll hear in English. Yeah. Yeah. So now, just small thing. Can I stop saying at this point Syrian Arab Republic? I mean, can I just say Syria?
Syria joined NPT in 1969 and signed and in 1972 signed that is another treaty actually, which is it's a convention to called EWC.
This is the biological. I think it's wrongly noted. So I think you've got noted here as CWC, but I think this is the BTWC. اتفاقية منع استخدام.
Convention on the Prohibition of the Development, Production, Stockpiling, and Use of Biological.
So this is the B. This is all that there. That is the BTWC.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the BTWC, and then go on. Then you have the Ittifaqiyya al-Aslah.
And joined CWC in 2013.
CWC, the Chemical Weapons Convention. Okay. Here, okay.
Now, if we could start a new sentence.
So I will put the full names of those treaties up on the screen when I produce. Okay, go on, Mohammed. وتقدمت خلال
and when Syria or its membership of the Security Council of the United Nations Security Council, Syria submitted a draft resolution on this issue, on this subject, in late 2003.
Full stop, perhaps?
Full stop. But the council resolution on the matter actually at the end of 2003 and was unable, the council was unable to adopt it because of the position of one of Israel's permanent members, friends.
I was thinking allies here for asdiqa. Would allies be more appropriate?
Yeah.
Yes, Rasha?
I mean, if he wanted to say asdiqa, if he wanted to say allies, he would have said hulafa.
Okay, there is a difference.
Friends,
I get you, friends. Okay.
I stick to this, and I just want to say that we can use tabled that Syria tabled a resolution.
Table.
Oh, okay. For where
Table.
was that then?
Table.
Taqaddamat, yes.
Yes.
Okay, table to
And we have the
submit. Yeah,
Security
that's
Council
nice. Yeah,
jargon here. Yes.
that's nice.
And I wanted to ask whether it's okay to say join. I like it because this is probably the first word that comes into mind. But they always use
Acceded to, we could say acceded to.
I sign up to. I tend to sign up to things or accede to. That's nice. Accede to. Yes, that's nice.
It's accede to.
Accede to. For this is, let me just see where we are. Was this when we were talking about signing up to the NPT? Munazama, here, right?
So in order to make
to the
those
NPT.
sentences shorter, I would say, okay, during its membership of the Security Council, Syria tabled a draft resolution on this matter at the end of 2003, full stop.
Yeah.
However, the council failed to adopt this draft resolution because it was blocked by one of Israel's permanent members of this Friends.
Permanent. That's the funny. It's slightly strange wording. It seemed
blocked.
to me slightly strange. This Asdaqa Israel al-Da'ima.
I think he means it. I think he's playing on the word between permanent member and permanent
friend. It's like deliberately like that. Yeah.
No, permanent.
Yeah. Because of Israel, one of Israel's permanent friends.
I would say it was blocked by one of Israel's friend, a permanent member of the Security Council. One of Israel's friends, a permanent member of the Security Council. It was blocked. Okay. And then that's it. We stopped there.
Okay.
Okay. And well, there's a new sentence now. And
shall I give this a try?
Yeah.
Along similar lines, the continued refusal by the US and Israel to participate in a conference to be held under the auspices of the UN in New York to implement General Assembly decision number 546, right?
Is it pursuant to?
Is that right? Pursuant for tanfeed and that's interesting. Pursuant.
I think it's pursuant to.
Right. Pursuant. That's good. That's nice. Is that okay? So refusal of the US, Israel to participate conference to be held under under the auspices or under the aegis. Auspices plural, aegis single. Okay, singular. In New York, pursuant to Security Council decision 546. Yeah. What was it? 546/37. Entitled holding a conference on the establishment of a nuclear and WMD free zone in the Middle East is a blatant violation, in blatant defiance of the international and regional will towards creating an NWZ.
Okay, I have one
in blatant.
Yeah, it's great, and I just want to draw attention to something that people might not be aware of, which is the difference between decision and resolution. You said it right. You said decision for muqarrar and resolution for qarar.
Okay.
That's I think this was a muqarrar, and in the GA, a muqarrar is different than a qarar.
Let me just find that original. Hang on, where's the first one?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is resolution. Okay, muqarrar is a resolution.
No,
okay, that's
on the contrary, you said it right.
Resolution is qarar.
Okay.
And resolution
decision
is
muqarrar.
Muqarrar is decision and qarar. That is an important distinction to draw, definitely. Was this good? So I mean, I copied in blatant defiance, in open defiance. Okay, I'll do a little bit more, perhaps. President, the spread, the COVID pandemic. Let's just say I'm going to drop intishar. I'm just going to say the COVID pandemic. The COVID pandemic has confirmed the fundamental dangers, the fundamental risks, the fundamental. Okay, look at
مواجهة. It's مواجهة. It's the مواجهة.
Yeah.
Facing is, I mean, the facing this.
Right. The COVID pandemic has shown that facing fundamental existential risks, joint shared existential risks, requires solidarity and international cooperation to overcome it. I mean, I was thinking here, could I just drop this?
COVID-19 pandemic has made it clear that addressing common threats
requires solidarity,
cooperation, and solidarity.
It somehow seems to be unnecessary to actually say to do the al-taghlib alayha.
You know, probably at the time we would say overcoming common risks require international cooperation.
Yes.
If we can. So this way you're stressing that you're not only facing it, you're also
overcoming
it. Why not addressing it?
Yeah, addressing, yeah. For muwajaha, right.
Exactly. Yeah. So addressing, very good, Muhammad, like addressing, and I mean, Syrians call, I mean, okay, I don't know if we can use cosmic here because we're often talking about cosmic other things. So
for Kawniya.
Yeah, so I don't know if I think you're right. No, you're right. That's just a joke, Yani.
What's the best thing for Kawniya then?
It's universal, right? Is it?
Yeah, universal.
Universal, okay. Not existential. I wasn't so yeah, right.
I like it. No, but I like existential, although I mean I would think that existential would be something else, but I liked it in the context you used it. I don't know. Should I?
Although it's not mentioned in Arabic.
Yeah, because it's not mentioned. So I think
right.
You know, it's just he's talking about.
Perhaps if you were struggling for anything else and that word happened to drop just to come to mind, I think you could certainly get away with using it. And that's something again that you have to think of as interpreters. Sometimes a nice word, it might not be the exact same word as the original, but it sounds good and nothing else is coming. Then you go with it. That's another little, as an interpreter, something a trick you have to draw on. Let me do a little bit more. For example, addressing the risks of a military provocation and the use or the threat of the use of force in a number of parts of the world requires re-examining the role of multilateral diplomacy and the commitment to respect or to observe the principles and purposes of the UN Charter.
That was a difficult one.
That was a difficult one.
Because إعادة الاعتبار is what did you say for إعادة?
Re-examine.
No, it's not that. When you تعيد اعتبار,
bring back to life, I would say.
Revive.
Revise. Revitalize.
No. Because
not rehabilitate. I wouldn't say rehabilitate.
Exactly, because that's what when I tried to look it up, they said rehabilitate. But when تعيد اعتبار, it's as if to
re-energize, galvanize,
reinstitute.
It's when someone, let's assume you humiliated me, and I felt hurt, and then you're trying to do
make
something.
Amends.
To make amends. I mean, but in this context is to give international diplomacy its
role, its real role.
I mean, to reinstate.
Okay, reinstate, restore.
To restore to multilateral diplomacy the place it deserves.
Okay.
I don't know how to say it. So if you can think, so it's to restore to international diplomacy or multilateral diplomacy the status it deserves, or its
right. But to revive.
Revive is good.
Revive.
But Roland, it's not, for example, here. Bilmithil is likewise.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So what's so this?
You said, for example, it's.
But it should be what?
It's بالمثل, likewise.
Likewise. Oh, okay. Oh, likewise. Sorry.
Yeah.
Likewise.
In
Okay.
the same vein, in the same context.
Okay. So that would be, you'd probably put full stop there, wouldn't you? Okay. So all this was okay. Yeah, the principles. And okay, remember that, guys. Okay, that's crucial. That's gospel from the United Nations Charter of this principles and purposes.
Yeah.
Like
purposes.
Yeah. So that's there's you can't really change that. That's specific language from the charter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask
one.
Okay, Rasha or
and this is a killer.
Tough, isn't it? So I'm going to leave that bit. I thought I'll do that first, but it's not too bad, and then leave it.
So I guess here, let's say, so we are cognizant of the complex nature of the issues that fall within the ambit of or the remit of the Conference of Disarmament, and the different positions that have that obstructed or that prevented the realization, that prevented achieving any progress in its work, in its agenda.
So just a couple of quick words here that were interesting. So you said obstructed. So it's good to have a selection of synonyms for that. Hamper, hinder, impede. Okay, you want to know or at least be able to recognize all of those words. They're all very similar in meaning. And also, what do you say for
متشعبة?
Mutashaiba, yeah, that was interesting.
Mutashaiba is very
various. Okay, yes, various. Okay. فإن تعقل الالتزامات وهي Rasha, can you see?
So I probably would say, just to be on the safe side,
but
commitments relevant to nuclear disarmament and nuclear non-proliferation were undermined. The risks of a nuclear warfare and the risks of the militarization of outer space and of accession, I don't know if I can say accession by terrorist
acquisition
by terrorist groups of weapons of mass destruction, the use and acquisition by terrorist groups of weapon of mass destruction are all real, and therefore the aforementioned, I mean, something like this would stress yet once again the need to operationalize the substantive work of the Disarmament Conference and to restore to it its negotiating and role and mandate.
One just thing here, would you not, I think we want to put in a but here or a however, since we're getting rid of the ma up here, right?
Yeah,
do you not want to say, then, you know, you'd want to throw in a but because you're sort of setting these two ideas against each other.
But I thought that the sentence would still be very long, that you would have to say that there is something that's very real. If you think of the meaning of that sentence, he's trying to say that commitments relevant to nuclear and disarmament and nuclear proliferation is there. There still are risks of the nuclear warfare. There are risks of the militarization of outer space, and there are risks of the acquisition and use by terrorist groups of weapons of mass destruction. All of the above would confirm the need to operationalize the substantive work of the Conference on Disarmament, restoration of its deliberative role.
That's a good,
I think there is no other way for this sentence.
It's just interesting. It's the militarization of outer space. That's a concept, again, you will hear quite a bit. Militarization, acquisition by terrorist groups of weapons and their use. Liada, you said operationalize. I was thinking reactivate. They often talk about reactivating the role.
I think that this word, although I always stumble when I pronounce, but I mean, you reactivate, it looks as if, I mean, it gives me the concept of invigorate. What he's trying to say, ما بعرف, maybe you're right. شو رأيك محمد?
العمل, operationalize.
Revitalize.
Oh, that's it. they're always talking about revitalizing, aren't they? The
Revitalize.
work of
No, not in. I mean, I tell you why not. Because they're talking about. They often talk about revitalization of the work of the
General
Assembly.
Assembly.
And
Yeah.
that goes in it's milder. I think what he really means here, again, let's take the concept of the whole statement. Somebody is saying that the international community has so far failed to uphold its own commitments. So when you really need the international community to step up once again, I think it's either reactivate or maybe operationalize. So whatever you prefer.
Okay. Shall I do? I'll do a bit here, so it gets a bit easier here from here. In that regard, Syria Syria reiterates its position in support of the adoption of a comprehensive, balanced program of work with a negotiating mandate that covers the 4 main agenda items. Is that all right?
Areas of work, I would say.
For what? For
4 areas of work.
the 4 bunud al-arba 4 areas of work. Oh, I see. I get you.
I'm sorry.
Work.
يشمل البنود الأربعة الرئيسية. The 4 main areas of work. Right. We reiterate our great interest. Is that right? تأكيد على الأهمية.
We stress the utmost importance.
Utmost importance of nuclear disarmament and implementing conventions and the relevant relevant pledges and commitments. التعهدات الالتزامات ذات الصلة.
Article 6 of NPT.
Am I right though? For تعهدات and الالتزامات, like pledges and commitments.
Is it pledges and commitments? Okay. Can we say pledges and commitments? I don't know.
I'd say commitments. Obligations, I would say.
Obligations, right? Obligations.
Obligations without ta'ahudat والتزام. Obligations under
as per the as per Article 6 of the NPT. Syria reiterates the need to establish negotiations in the context of a comprehensive, balanced program of work within the CD. Alan, on the text, on a draft, but on a legally binding instrument. So Alanus, how would you do this, Mohammed, on the text of a?
I would say on a legally binding instrument. That's what they have been talking
on
about.
A legally binding instrument, international instrument, right?
On a legally binding international instrument.
Or an international LBI. Often you'll hear this acronym, LBI, legally binding instrument. You come across, certainly in Geneva, we hear that a lot, LBI. On the dangers, on prohibiting, this is on an FMCT, isn't it?
Fissile material.
Okay, prohibiting the production of fissile materials. So how do I say that in Arabic? Al-mawad
al-inshitariya.
Al-inshitariya, very important concept to be familiar with, fissile materials. And that treaty is the FMCT. What's the full name of that in Arabic?
Fissile material cut-off treaty. Al-had, I would say. Al-had من إنتاج المواد الانشطارية.
Okay, and then contribute
إنتاج fissile material cut-off treaty. معاهدة الحد من إنتاج المواد الانشطارية.
As a genuine contribution to nuclear disarmament here. And وبأن يكفل بالطريق قابلة Oh, this is a bit tricky, this bit. تحقق تدمير المخزون.
Verifiable.
Verifiable, that's right.
Mhm.
قابل التحقق, right?
Verifiable.
The destruction of stockpiles.
That can guarantee a verifiable destruction
Okay.
of fissile material stockpiles
Okay.
and prevent the production of new materials.
And prevent new production. I think they often say that in English. You just say that prevent any new production. Again, this is all, I think, very much treaty language. This is probably all directly quoted from this potential treaty. This word warahna, how?
I think pending. I think he means pending here.
How would you do this, Rasha? This bit then, warah.
I think he said pending.
Pending, yes,
Pending
pending.
total elimination of nuclear.
Or on the condition to pending.
I think it's pending. I think he means
providing.
pending. This is where I told you they don't necessarily. I mean, sometimes some of the words used lack accuracy, so it could take your sentence in a totally different direction. I would say pending the total elimination of nuclear weapons, negotiating an LBI would grant non-nuclear weapon states effective, universal, non-conditional, and non-discriminatory security guarantees has become an urgent matter, or
I think it's assurances. I think the word they want in English is assurances specifically. There's such a thing called, they have the nucleus negative security assurances. They sometimes call them NSAs. And I think assurance is the word that they actually want in English. So this dhamanat, again, usually guarantees would obviously be fine. It's just in this specific context, they want to hear assurances. Certainly the English listeners will want to hear, like, they'll know, the assurances, right? We know what you're talking about. And then I think Rasha's talking about the unconditional, non-discriminatory security assurances. Okay. And then we have.
I can't see your screen anymore.
What's that? Amran mal. Is that just crucial?
It's urgent.
Urgent.
Urgent, I think.
Indispensable.
Yeah, isn't very good.
Indispensable. Have you got? Could you need to see the screen, or shall I carry on? Maybe.
It's indispensable.
Do we have a sentence that starts with
maintaining the
yes, بالمثل.
Yeah.
Likewise, in the same vein. Okay.
So in the same vein,
preserving
the exclusive
peaceful use.
Or exclusively peaceful use of outer space, and preventing its militarization. And then if you can go to the second sentence, is a special priority for us, or is a special priority. Syria renews its support to begin negotiating a draft agreement to combat chemical and biological terrorism in the Disarmament Conference on the basis of the text proposed by the Russian Federation.
Okay, that's all fairly straightforward.
In conclusion, yeah, okay, go ahead, Muhammad.
In conclusion, my country's delegation hails or commends your determination.
Always good to have a few alternatives. Welcomes, commends, congratulates, hails.
Your determination or your intent to hold or conduct comprehensive
consultations, right?
Consultations aimed at reaching or adopting a substantive program.
That's an important word. I think that came up earlier. I don't know if we skipped it, but that's it. They always talk about substantive program of work. That's for this word, right? Madmuni, right?
Yeah.
Substantive. Yes, that's a very important
word. Or a consensual would say, because there's that we يحظى بالتوافق.
Okay.
Yes, that will be adopted by consensus, and that will set the stage to breaking the stalemate in which the conference, the stalemate of the conference, and to recover its pivotal role. Or
yeah,
restore,
I like that word a lot. Restore its pivotal role. That's very good in English, pivotal.
Pivotal role. Mr. President, we reiterate, or we renew our full support to you and your efforts, or to your efforts.
There we go.
That's it.
Shukran. Okay, so there you have it. That was a bit of a marathon. So
It is, yeah, it is.
guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned some very important new words and expressions to do with everything to do with nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament. I certainly learned a lot of new Arabic words and concepts. So
No, that was
again,
more of an analysis of the text, actually, rather than interpreting it.
Yeah. So it's good, important to see all the
it.
areas where you can sort of do those shortcuts, where you have to tweak sentences. Interpretation's not just about always just going word for word for word for word. You have to play around with some of these texts sometimes, particularly with Arabic, when you have these very long sentences that simply, to put into English, you just need to break them up. Guys, if you go on, Rasha.
Maybe I could stress here that there was a point where there was an uproar in New York, and I don't know if you were here, and actually there was a General Assembly resolution stressing that translation and interpretation is not translating words. So we will be implementing legislative mandates by understanding the meaning of the text and not necessarily sticking literally to what's in there, because sometimes we have to comply with known terminology, and disarmament is one of those areas in the United Nations in which you cannot simply improvise. I mean, you need to say decision when it's decision. You need to say, as you said,
there's, some of the words, there are a lot of very subject-specific words and phrases that you do need to be.
So I really believe that it's very, very important, that the point you raised is very important. Thank you so much, Roland.
Well, listen, guys, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. For the viewers, please, if you've enjoyed the show, if you have learned some new stuff, I would ask you, please, to smash the like button. Share it with your friends and colleagues as well in the industry. Please don't forget to subscribe. Keep on subscribing. That's the only price for the interpretation station. That's all he humbly asks. In conclusion, all that remains for me to say is just to thank Rasha and Mohammed very much for your presence today here on the show. Any final words, Rasha, Mohammed?
Well, thank you, Rasha.
Thank you. I really learned a lot. Thank you so much.
We learn a lot from you, Rasha, because you come from a Security Council and General Assembly background, and we come from the CD background. But anyway, thank you very much for being with us.
Well, as I say, thank you very much to both of you, and I'm sure anyone viewing, you can learn a lot from these two guys here. So, as I say, it's been great having them on the show. All that remains for me to do now is simply to say that episode 115 of the Interpretation Station stands adjourned.
The train is now leaving the Interpretation Station.